that, but are there ways that you and the coaching staff encourage it throughout the season?
Yeah, we talk about, tough football team. And again, what we talk about with tough is the physical part of the game, the blocking, the block destruction, the tackling, within the fundamentals. We talk about relentless effort to the football, and we talk about, because that's a form of toughness, and we talk about mental toughness of being able to play the next play. Um, Anytime, obviously my best experience with being good at those things is because of the guys, exactly what you said, the guys that are in this building. But anytime as a coach that you're trying to reinforce things that you want, that you really admire and want for the program and for the culture, you enforce those things on tape. So, in our tape today and our tape every day, to be quite frank, because we talk about this every day, and every time we have a team meeting, we talk about it. We will put our physical plays up there. We will put our relentless effort plays up there, and we will put our mental toughness plays up there to reinforce it. Good, bad, and just so it's always on our mind. And so, yeah, I can't say enough of how tough our team is, and in all three of those phases: physical, mental, and effort.
We'll go to Brooks and then Jeff.
Hey Nick, losing Nakobe Dean for the playoffs, what does that mean on the field and off the field for this team? And what does the organization feel about Dean and what he's done this year?
Yeah, Nakobe's had a great year. As you guys saw the reports, he's going to be out, and we sure will miss him. Um, he's made big plays all year long. Most one that comes to everyone's mind is going to be the interception against Jacksonville to seal the game. But he has a couple plays in yesterday's game that are just outstanding, that set the tone of how physical we were going to play. The fourth play of the game, the way he comes down. I think the fourth play of the game of yesterday really shows you who Nakobe Dean is. He identifies the play lightning fast, and that's because of how much time he spends working on this game. He loves football, and how much time he spends working on this game of football, and at being able to diagnose plays. And he lights up the puller with his that physical toughness play. And so it just was, you saw everything of who Nakobe is in that play. Bam, good football IQ, boom, physical toughness. And yeah, we'll miss him. That's for sure. Got a lot of faith in the guys in that room, but we'll for sure miss Nakobe, and he's had a really good year.
We'll go to Jeff and then Ruben.
Hey, Nick, Devontae Smith said that the Packers threw a lot of different coverage looks at you guys. Is that more of why you may have struggled in the passing game, or did you feel like, or is it maybe that you didn't do enough to scheme guys open?
You know, anytime you have a good offense, you can expect a lot of different things. Whether that's in the run looks of them, showing you different runs, or pardon me, different schemes up front, or whether that's in the coverage and mixing things up. So, one thing that was very clear yesterday is that, when you get into these games and you get into a playoff game, you're going to have things go against you, and you're going to be like, man, if we could have made that play, or if we could have done this better as coaches, or whatever it is. And the reality of the situation as you get into the playoff football, you're not going to pitch a perfect game. You're not going to have a perfect game. There's going to be things that team does to create mistakes. And that's why it's so important that you're able to play the next play. Why did we not have our best game as an offense yesterday? Well, that's never gonna be, oh, it's on this or it's on that. There's always gonna be different things. So as coaches, we have to do a good job of putting the guys in positions to succeed, and then we have to go out and execute. And so it's always gonna be that. And so and that was the case yesterday. We got to do a better job as coaches, and then we got to go execute better, and to play a better football game overall as an offense.
We'll go to Ruben and then Martin.
Hey Nick, we've seen you do a lot of different things as far as practice goes. Some days you'll change up and turn a practice into a walkthrough. Wednesday we saw you guys pad up at the link in bad conditions. How do you kind of get a sense of what the team needs as far as practice, when to go hard, when to really drive them, and when to back off?
Communication, with all parties. That's communication with the coaches, where you feel like we are. Who are we playing? What kind of problems do they present? What do we need to see? Can walk through, get some stuff done? Do we need to have it live? With pads on. Do we have to have pads on? Do we need a helmet? Right. So that, and then doctors and trainers and strength staff. Where are we? Who's going to be able to go on Wednesday? Who's going to be limited? Who's going to be out? Talking to the players. How you feeling? Where are your legs at right now? And so it's just my job. Now, ultimately, I have to make the decision that I think is best for the football team. I'm always going to want to practice, but I always got to think about, everybody and on this team and to do that. And so I think the best way to say that, Rube, is it's just constant communication between myself and all parties involved that to get the best information to make the best decision I can for the team on that. I will say that I believe that, the way we practice and how we've practiced and, everything we do with practice, like there's a price to be had for success, and it takes the work. It takes the grind. It takes the practice. It takes the mental. And so we're very aware of that as well.
We'll go to Martin and then Jason.
Hey, Nick. I wanted to ask you about one of the guys who you're probably going to count on to replace Nakobe and Oren Burks. He's a guy, obviously, who's done this before in San Francisco. What is the value of having a guy like that, and how do you think he did yesterday when he came in?
Yeah, I thought he did a lot of good things. Obviously, in the game that he played against the Giants as well. We took him off a couple special teams with him being in as a full-time player there. And he's been such a dynamic player for us on special teams. And that's a great example, a great predictor of, as a linebacker, how you can play as a linebacker with all the physical tools, how you're going to do there. It's obviously a different mental game. But what a great indicator of how you are as a linebacker, as far as how you tackle, how you get off blocks, etc. Is how you do it on special teams when there's a lot of space to do it in. And so he's done a great job. Great person, great teammate. Really enjoy having him on this team. And he's had to step in and play, just like with so many of our guys have had to step in and play this year, because it's a long season, and you're going to need everybody. You're going to need all bodies. You're going to need everybody on ready to roll. And Oren's been consistently ready to play and played well and performed well every time he's stepped onto the field. And as bummed as I am that Nakobe doesn't get to play, I'm excited for Oren and his opportunity to play.
We'll go to Jason and then Tim.
Hey, Nick. I'm just interested from a head coaching's perspective, how you watch that Rams Vikings game tonight. Are you alone with a notepad, a pen and paper? Or are you with your coaching staff? Like, what's the approach from your perspective as you guys prep for whoever you're going to play and you're watching that game tonight?
Yeah, we'll have to do a little bit of work on both teams. Obviously we played LA earlier in the year, so there's a little bit of familiarity there on that. But they've also changed as we've changed. But we haven't played Minnesota, so today will be about that work and really, you get some stuff from a television copy. There are some things that you get. But during that time with the games being played, we'll be working off the tape that we have, whatever part, a little bit on LA, a little bit on Minnesota. You're going to watch the game as you're preparing. We've been in this situation before in the sense of, this happened in 22 when we didn't know if we'd play Minnesota or the Giants. And so as we were watching the game, all right, Giants are winning. Let's put more stock into this. And so today, up until that point, you're going to have to do a little bit of work on both teams. And then as the game goes on, we'll watch it. It'll be on in the background. and we'll be preparing for both those teams as well until the game changes, or it may not change at all. And so that's kind of how that goes. I think the other thing is it just gave you a little bit more time today when you don't know exactly who the opponent is, a little bit more time today to really get the corrections fixed from yesterday, because we have some things that we have to clean up from yesterday. So that's always the first part of a Monday. But even more so, even you can spend even a little bit more time here on that today, not knowing who you're going to play. So, it's a different type of night, but you try to handle all the different scenarios that scheduling and things challenge by leaning on your past, by leaning on things like that. And so we've been in this scenario before, and we'll handle it similar to when we have before.
Thank you.
We'll go to Tim and John.
Nick, there was a couple scenarios on 3rd and long in that game yesterday where you guys opted to run it or not be overly aggressive. What are the different factors that went into that approach?
Yeah, I think you'll see that we're not afraid to run the ball in 3rd down scenarios ever. When you're able to run the ball on 3rd down, you present different challenges to the defense. The defensive coordinator has to think about his run fits with all his different exotic blitzes, and so that always puts fear into a defense that they got to be aware of that. They can't just pin their ears back and rush. Different times call for different scenarios. What I don't believe we got any yesterday on long runs. Is that right? We didn't convert any on 3rd and long, I believe, right, Tim?
Right.
Yeah. But there has been 3rd and 19 against Jacksonville at the 19. Saquon, we run it there. Saquon busts a long run for a touchdown. 3rd down can set you up for 4th down. And so sometimes you're playing it to get the 1st down. Sometimes you're playing it to solidify points. Sometimes you're playing it to strike fear into the defensive coordinator's mind. Sometimes you're playing it because you want to get the ball to Saquon in that particular case to break one. A lot of different reasons for it. And yesterday had some different reasons for it. And so and so we played those how we wanted to play those yesterday. Yeah.
We'll go to John and then Ed.
Hi, Nick. You mentioned some of those corrections on offense. Just wanted to get your thoughts. The offensive line as a whole, those guys have such a high standard. A couple of them said we were too leaky. What did you see from that group specifically? Because sometimes they're really hard on themselves.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think there were times that one thing that we talk a lot about that we want to constantly be is on the same page. And there was a couple times that we weren't on the same page as a full offense. Now that happens. Again, I go back to this. That happens. The better the teams are, the more you're going to be presented with challenges. And you're not going to pitch a perfect game. It's our job to embrace the adversity that happens there and understand how to play the next play. And so there were a couple times there. There was a couple times that they got you lose a one-on-one matchup here and there. I thought we had some really good efforts from the offensive line, meaning really good performances from the offensive line. I just think go into Lane. Lane was awesome against a really good rusher that was over top of him, and we got a lot of good performances there. But it's that constant fight of always being on the same page. That starts with us as coaches of spelling out every scenario you can get, right? And here's what we do in this scenario. Here's what we do in this scenario. Now, the better you get, and as an offense, the more you're going to get stuff that you didn't even know they had. But it's still our job as coaches to present everything that could possibly happen and put them in those positions. And then we got to go out and execute it. And again, that's just something we can be better at from yesterday.
We'll go to Ed and then Zach.
Yeah, hi, Nick. Just ask you about, Saquon could have had a 75-yard touchdown run yesterday, took a knee. What did you think of that? Is that something you guys prepare for or talk about during the course of a week in situations like that? But what did you think of it in the moment?
Yeah, for sure. Dallas, you go back, I'm just trying to think of the couple times we've had this. Dallas Goedert had one of those against Washington, I believe, in 2021, or now he wasn't in the open field, but he got the first down. And then once you can take knees there, you slide because, we've seen a couple things happen that, so I think, again, Dallas had one in the Washington game, I believe in 21. He caught a little pass in the flat. Bam, he slid. We took 3 knees and won the game. And again, that's awesome. Now, you get one in the open field, and he could have scored, but you take 3 knees, you win the game. And why do you do that? Well, you do that because of when you're in those scenarios, you don't want to give them another opportunity for freaky things to happen. Memphis played, I don't remember, in the bowl game. Memphis played somebody in the bowl game not too long ago. The guy intercepts the pass. It's the same scenario. Defense has same scenarios at times. Sydney had it last week. You intercept the pass, you're going to take 3 knees. The game's going to be over. The guy intercepts the pass. He gets up. He runs. And he's about to go down, and the guy pops the ball out. There was a play in a Chicago versus San Francisco game probably about 5 years ago. Same thing. They completed ball, same thing. He's running with it. The guy comes out and pops the ball out. They get an opportunity. Happened in Cleveland versus the New York Jets 2 years ago. They scored. Cleveland scored. It gave the Jets, now it put them up 2 scores. It gave the Jets an opportunity to come back, score, get the onside kick, score again, win the game. It happened to us in a preseason game in 2021. Same scenario. We stripped the ball. We stripped a ball from the Jets in 2021. We should have just recovered it and went down. We scooped. We scored. We were up 1 point at the time. Then we went up 8. The Jets got the ball. Got the ball to midfield, completed a Hail Mary against us, then converted for 2-point conversion. And in these games, you can tie. So you never want to win on something or lose on something that you can completely control by going down. And so that's something we practice. That's something that we talk about. That's something that, Saquon asked before he even went in, hey, are we in? And I won't give away our word. He said it yesterday. I don't care. Are we in no mas? And like, yeah, we are. And so that means get the first down and go down. And he performed it perfectly. And it'll be a clip that we'll show, just like we showed Dallas's and just like we showed all those other ones forever. And you do that for the exact reasons I said, because now when you go up 3 scores at that point, it might not make that big of a difference. We understand that. But the Cleveland one, you go back and look at the Cleveland one. I mean, I think it was Flacco was the quarterback for the Jets at the time, and he just let them right down, and they won the game from it. And so you don't mess around with things like that. You have an opportunity to take knees, you take those opportunities.
We'll go to Zach and then Bo.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. If you think back to your role meeting before the season, what role did you envision for Nolan Smith, and how did that evolve after Bryce and Brandon went down?
Yeah, when we talk about roles for the defensive line, you talk to them as a whole, because you know that the group rush mentality is going to be critical, and getting all those guys to work and operate as one. And you can't be great without the greatness of others. I always thought that was going to be important for those guys. We love to talk about, like you guys asked me about physical toughness. One thing that's always on display on physical toughness is the way a defensive end controls the C gap and can control a tackle or a tight end. And so I know how physical Nolan is. I've known how physical Nolan is since the day he's got here. He's heavy-handed, big-time hitter. Man, he is so tough. And so we talked to that defensive line about how they set edges. We talked to that defense and how important that's going to be for our run game success. And I kind of talked to them, like I said, as a group, Zach. But Nolan, how heavy-handed it is, how important that he's going to be there. And then, like I said, in the past game, about the pass rush and rushing as a group and winning your one-on-one matchups as you get opportunities to do so. Nolan is physical. And so you want these, when you talk about roles, it's our job as coaches to put these guys in the roles that they can succeed at. And Nolan Smith will always be a physical player. He's just a physical, that's just who he is. Those are his habits. That's who he is. And, so that was a big talk to him at the beginning of the year during that roles meeting.
I'll finish with Bo and then Olivia.
Hey, Nick, I just wanted to know what your assessment was of Jaylen's performance after watching the film.
Yeah, I thought he did a lot of good things. As an offense, as a whole, we all want things back from that game. But what I was so impressed by with Jaylen is that, we were up kind of comfortably by 2 scores for a majority of the game, and every time that the Packers cut it to 1 score, whether it was 10-3 or 16-10, Jaylen led our team right down the field. Making big time plays, checking the plays that really helped us, and just being the winner and quarterback that he is. And does he going to want plays back? Of course. Or is the offensive line that we talked about going to want plays back? Of course. Is the coach is going to want plays back? Of course. That's the way a game goes. But in pressure situations when he needed to have extreme focus and lead us down the field to score, he did. And that's what you want out of your leader, out of your quarterback.